Hi everyone, I'm Emily, a 27-year-old woman from Ohio. I've been dating my boyfriend Jake for about 8 months now. When we first met, everything felt so right, like something out of a movie. He was charming, funny, and seemed genuinely caring. I've always believed honesty is the foundation of any good relationship, so I was relieved when Jake seemed open and trustworthy. We talked about everything, our pasts, our dreams, even the small details of our daily lives. Our relationship felt steady and loving. We would spend weekends cooking together, going for walks, and sharing little moments that made me feel close to him. I never had any reason to doubt him. He always made me feel safe and respected. Jake wasn't the type to rush into things, but his affection was steady and sincere. I admired that. Of course, every relationship has its ups and downs, but ours felt like a solid partnership. I was excited about the future and confident that I had found someone I could count on. Trust meant everything to me. It was non-negotiable. So when something unexpected came up recently, it shook me more than I thought it would. That calm and secure feeling started to crack, and I wasn't sure what to do next. A few days ago, something completely unexpected happened that shook me to my core. I was casually browsing online when I came across a website that lets you look up public records. Just out of curiosity, I started searching for people I knew from high school, then decided to type in Jake's full name, just to see what would come up. I never expected to find anything concerning, but the moment the search results loaded, my stomach dropped. There it was, an official arrest record with his full name, dated about 5 years ago. The charge was for assault. I stared at the screen, unable to believe what I was seeing. My mind refused to accept it at first, thinking maybe there was a mistake or someone else with the same name. I refreshed the page multiple times, double-checked the details, and finally accepted the truth. It was definitely him. A flood of emotions hit me all at once. I felt stunned, confused, and heartbroken. How could he have kept something like this from me? We always said honesty was our foundation, yet here was a huge secret he never mentioned. The shock quickly turned into disbelief and a gnawing sense of betrayal. What else was he hiding? Was he even the person I thought he was? I couldn't stop asking myself why he hadn't told me about this arrest. Was he ashamed? Afraid I'd leave? Or was there some part of the story he wasn't willing to share? The suspense of not knowing was worse than any answer I could imagine. That night, I lay awake, torn between wanting to confront him and fearing what his explanation might be. This discovery shattered the trust I had in our relationship, and I wasn't sure how or when I'd be able to face him again. The next day, I knew I couldn't keep what I'd found bottled up any longer. I decided to bring up the arrest record with Jake. I wanted to hear his side of the story before jumping to conclusions. So, I waited until we were alone and asked him directly if there was anything from his past he hadn't told me, specifically mentioning the arrest I had discovered. His reaction caught me off guard. Instead of being open or apologetic, he immediately went on the defensive. He brushed off the question with vague answers, saying it was a long time ago and not something worth worrying about. When I pressed him for details or asked if I could see any paperwork related to the case, he quickly shut down and refused. He claimed the whole thing was blown out of proportion and insisted that it didn't matter anymore. But the way he avoided eye contact and shifted the topic made me uneasy. I sensed that there was more to the story, something he didn't want me to know. It was like he was hiding behind half-truths, hoping I wouldn't dig deeper. As the conversation went on, my doubts grew. How could he be so secretive about something so serious? Was he ashamed or hiding something worse? The trust I had built started to crumble. I wanted to believe him, but his silence spoke louder than his words. That night, I felt a deep discomfort settle inside me. The man I thought I knew was suddenly a stranger, and I didn't know how to handle it. After our conversation, things between us changed, and not for the better. Jake started avoiding my calls and texts. When he did respond, his answers were short and guarded. I could feel a wall going up between us, and it scared me. The openness and warmth we once shared were disappearing. He began acting secretive. I noticed him deleting messages from his phone and becoming overly protective of it. Sometimes he would disappear for hours without explanation. Little things I hadn't thought about before now stood out, like how he suddenly started coming home late or being vague about where he'd been. These small red flags made my suspicion grow stronger. Every unanswered question felt like a thread unraveling the trust I had left. I was caught in a constant state of worry, wondering if he was hiding more than just his past arrest. Emotionally, I was drained. The excitement and love I once felt were replaced with anxiety and doubt. I didn't know whether to confront him again or give him space. But the tension was unbearable. I kept hoping he would open up, but all I got were silence and suspicion. It felt like I was living with a stranger, and I didn't know how long I could hold on to what we had. After everything I had discovered, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions. I loved Jake. That hadn't changed. But now, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Every time I thought about the arrest and his secretive behavior, a small voice inside me whispered doubt. Was I being naive to trust him blindly? Or was I unfairly letting suspicion take over? I questioned my own judgment constantly. Maybe I was overthinking things. Maybe everyone has parts of their past they don't want to share. But this felt different. This felt like a betrayal. I kept asking myself, if he really cared about me, why hide something so serious? The fear of losing him battled with the fear of staying with someone who might be lying. I felt trapped between my heart and my head, torn between wanting to believe in us and wanting to protect myself. Nights were the hardest. Lying awake, I'd replay every conversation, every small detail, trying to figure out what was real. It was painful to admit that I didn't know him as well as I thought. The more I wanted to trust, the harder it became. This internal struggle wasn't just about Jake's past. It was about how much I was willing to accept in the name of love. And right now, I didn't have an answer. After weeks of uncertainty, I realized I couldn't figure this out on my own. So, I reached out to my closest friends first. I shared everything: the arrest record, his strange reactions, and my growing doubts. Their advice surprised me. One friend told me to forgive him and try to move past it, saying everyone has a history and honesty could come later. Another friend was much more blunt, warning me to trust my instincts and be careful, reminding me that lying about something so serious is a major red flag. Still feeling unsettled, I decided to turn to online communities for a wider range of opinions. I posted my story on Reddit's Our Relationships, hoping strangers could offer some clarity. The responses were overwhelming. Some people told me to end things immediately. No relationship should have this kind of secret. Others said they understood his fear and suggested giving him the chance to come clean fully, emphasizing the importance of communication. The variety of advice made me feel both validated and more confused. I realized many people have been in similar painful situations, and it's normal to feel torn. Reading through the comments, I saw stories of heartbreak and forgiveness, of betrayal and second chances. It reminded me how complex relationships can be, and how there isn't always a clear right or wrong answer. What struck me most was how universal this experience is. So many people wrestle with trust and doubt, and reaching out for support isn't a weakness. It made me feel less alone, but also more aware of how carefully I needed to navigate this situation. After getting mixed advice, I decided I needed answers, no matter how uncomfortable. I tried bringing up the arrest again, hoping he'd be more willing to talk. But each time, he grew more defensive. At first, he'd give vague answers like, "It's not a big deal," or "That was a long time ago." But when I asked for any documents or details, he shut down completely. His phone would go unanswered, or he'd say he was busy, avoiding me more than before. Feeling frustrated and desperate, I took matters into my own hands. I searched online court records and public databases late into the night, trying to find anything that could shed light on what really happened. But it felt like chasing shadows. Each lead I found only raised more questions. Some details didn't match what he had said, and the gaps in the story made me feel like I was piecing together a puzzle with missing pieces. This whole process drained me emotionally. I was anxious all the time, second-guessing everything he said and wondering if he was hiding even more than I realized. I caught myself staring at my phone, hoping for a message that might clear things up, but instead I felt stuck in this limbo of doubt and fear. Was I overreacting? Was I being paranoid? Or was he truly keeping something from me that could change everything? The silence between us grew heavier, and my trust felt more fragile than ever. The more I dug, the less certain I became, and that uncertainty was eating away at me. After days of tension and unanswered questions, he finally agreed to sit down and talk. His eyes were heavy with hesitation as he began to explain. He admitted that the arrest record I found was real, but insisted it wasn't what I feared. According to him, the incident happened nearly a decade ago, when he was younger and made some poor choices. He said it was related to a heated argument at a party, which unfortunately escalated and led to his arrest. However, he stressed that no one was seriously hurt and that the charges were eventually dropped after he completed community service. As he spoke, I felt a flood of emotions. Relief washed over me because it wasn't the violent or dangerous crime I had imagined. But that relief quickly twisted into doubt. Why had he hidden something so significant for so long? Why hadn't he told me before I found out on my own? His story seemed carefully worded, too neat, as if rehearsed. I couldn't tell if he was genuinely remorseful or just trying to convince me to move on without digging deeper. My mind raced with questions. Was this really the whole truth? Or was there more he was keeping from me? The air between us felt thick with unspoken secrets. Part of me wanted to believe him, to forgive and forget, but another part remained suspicious, warning me not to trust so easily. The suspense lingered. Was this explanation honest, or just another lie meant to cover the cracks in his story? I didn't know yet, and that uncertainty weighed heavily on my heart. Looking back, I realized there were signs I chose to ignore or simply didn't notice. Little things that seemed insignificant at the time. His vague answers about his past. His sudden mood swings whenever I asked certain questions. The way he sometimes avoided talking about his history. I told myself it was normal to have some privacy, but now those moments feel like flashing red lights I refuse to see. My gut has been nudging me for weeks, whispering that something wasn't right. I tried to silence it because I wanted to trust him, because I wanted to believe in the story he was telling me. But that uneasy feeling kept growing, like a shadow in the back of my mind I couldn't shake. Was I blinded by love? I wonder if the hope I placed in him made me overlook the warning signs. Sometimes love can be so powerful that it clouds judgment, making us hold on to what we want to be true instead of what really is. Now, standing here, I feel that knot in my stomach tighten. I know the truth I'm seeking could change everything, and I'm afraid of what might come next. Will I find answers that bring relief, or will I uncover more lies that shatter the trust I've built? This feeling of uncertainty hangs heavy, like a storm about to break, and I know my next move could change everything. Now, I'm at a crossroads. I keep going back and forth in my mind, weighing the pros and cons of staying in this relationship. On one hand, there's the pain, the betrayal I feel from the lies and the secrecy. It cuts deeper than I expected, and sometimes I wonder if I can ever fully trust him again. The emotional weight is exhausting, and I don't know if I can carry it forever. But then there's the hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, he can be honest from here on out. That the past, no matter how messy, doesn't have to define us. I remind myself of the good times, the moments when he was kind, loving, and seemed genuine. Could forgiveness bring us back to that place? Or am I setting myself up for more heartbreak? Trust and respect have always been the foundation of any relationship I want. I believe honesty is non-negotiable. If I can't trust someone, what is left? But I also know that people make mistakes, sometimes big ones, and sometimes they don't tell the whole truth out of fear, shame, or confusion. This is the climax of my emotional battle, the point where I have to decide if my love for him outweighs my need for truth and security. Can I move past this? Or is it time to walk away and protect myself? I don't have all the answers yet, but I know one thing. Whatever decision I make, it will shape not just this relationship, but how I see myself and what I'm willing to accept in love. The weight of this choice presses down on me, and I'm terrified and hopeful all at once. After much thought, I finally made my decision and shared it with him. I told him that I needed honesty and transparency if this relationship was going to work. No more secrets, no more lies. At first, he was defensive and distant, but after some time, he opened up in a way he hadn't before. He apologized sincerely and promised to be truthful moving forward. For a while, things did improve. He started answering my questions openly, and I noticed small changes in how he communicated. We tried to rebuild trust slowly, but I still felt the weight of what had happened lingering between us. The shadow of doubt was hard to shake, even on good days. Eventually, I realized that forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. I learned that trust, once broken, takes time and effort to heal, and sometimes it can't fully be restored. After several weeks of reflection, I knew that staying in this relationship meant constantly questioning and doubting, which wasn't fair to either of us. So, I made the difficult choice to end things. It wasn't easy, especially because I still cared for him, but I had to prioritize my well-being and values over the fear of being alone. Walking away gave me a sense of freedom I hadn't felt in months. Looking back, this experience taught me a lot about love, trust, and self-respect. I learned that honesty is the foundation of any strong relationship, and without it, even the best feelings can crumble. Most importantly, I learned to listen to my gut and not ignore the red flags. Though the ending was painful, I'm grateful for the clarity it brought. I'm hopeful about the future and the chance to build something honest and real. If you find yourself in a situation like mine, my biggest advice is to trust your instincts. When something feels off, don't ignore those feelings. Love can be powerful and blinding, but it shouldn't make you overlook important red flags or dishonesty. Honesty and communication are the backbone of any healthy relationship. If your partner isn't willing to be open with you about serious issues, that's a problem that won't simply go away with time. I learned that it's okay to ask questions and expect truthful answers, even when it's uncomfortable. Your peace of mind and emotional safety matter. It's also okay to seek support from friends, family, or online communities, because sometimes outside perspectives can help you see what you might miss when you're too close to the situation. Through all this, I grew a lot. I realized that love is not just about feelings, but about respect and trust. When those foundations are shaky, the whole relationship can crumble. But ending a relationship that isn't honest doesn't mean failure. It means you're choosing to honor yourself and your worth. Above all, be patient with yourself. Healing takes time, but trusting your gut and setting boundaries will guide you to healthier relationships. Remember, you deserve a love where honesty is the norm, not the exception. Thank you for reading my story and journey. If you've ever faced something similar or have advice, I'd love to hear from you. Sharing our experiences helps us all feel less alone and wiser in navigating complicated emotions. Feel free to leave your thoughts or stories in the comments or reach out in communities where honesty and support matter. If you want to read more posts like this or connect with others going through relationship struggles, check out the links below. Before you go, I'll leave you with this question. When trust is broken, what do you think is the first step to healing? Honesty, forgiveness, or something else?